In today's devlog, we've taken the first battle zone from this to this. We've reworked our character design and our first new class is here. Combat is starting to feel smooth and satisfying. Well, not for this slime. And we've got bunch more progress to share with you. Ahoy fellow Darkhanists and welcome to the second development video log. Devlog. Another month has flown by and Darkhan is becoming something that actually looks playable and fun. At least to us, but we are biased. It's been a month full of problems, bugs, more bugs, pain, tears, anger, Yet, here we are, ready to share our journey, so let's get into it. In the last devlog we showed you the Archmage, but after some thoughts, we decided that our idea for the character design was just a little too generic. A little too positive, happy, candy-like? Is it even a way to describe it? It feels like something good is about to happen at any moment, and we just weren't feeling that vibe for Darkhan. So we reworked our approach to character design to fit the world we are building. Darker, more mysterious, a little bit more dangerous. And the first results of that is Umbra. It looks so cool. Shadowy, ominous, and a little unsettling. Our concept for his skillset is fitting right into the darker side of magic. So far we've implemented 3 skills for Umbra. Inner Void. Umbra can open a portal and reappear at a short distance away. Perfect for dodging attacks or getting into or out of trouble. Another one is Soul Comet. So you can summon a Soul Comet full of spiritual energy and that flies through the air, and when you hit an enemy, it explodes, killing everything in the nearby radius. If you have enough damage, of course. And the last one for today for Umbra is the Meteor Rain. You summon a massive meteor that comes from the sky, and when it hits the ground, it explodes and destroys everything. Now playing this new class, we both feel that it actually starts to feel fun. I start to like the game loop actually, and the movement, the skills, it starts to feel good. So now you have a feeling for one of the unique classes that we actually started to build. The rest of the classes will also be kinda unique like this one. At least we will try. We want the gameplay to feel rewarding and most importantly, we want it to feel good, and it starts to feel like that. So now let's get through zones and monsters. The first zone, well, we don't have the procedural generation up and running yet, but the logic is there. The thing is that during working on the procedural generation, we've changed our concept for how we want the zones to look like. We want each area to feel a little bit differently. And we wanted to add this kinda dark feel and vibe into the game world. Well, while it's not easy, we are slowly translating what we have in our heads and in our plans into the actually game world, so we are very proud of it. As you can see here, we are now fighting with some slimes and we're throwing the skills, and that's how we want the combat zone to look like. As for monsters, we are at the stage where we have multiple monsters ready, but they are still waiting to be added into the game. Our lovely slime is still the star of the show for now, and let me tell you, these little guys are really important when it's come to testing our new skills. Shout out to the slimes! But the slimes are not the only monsters, so let's get through the monsters that you can expect in the first zone. The first monster that will be coming soon into the game is the spider. He walks quickly and can actually poison you with his attacks. Another one is Troll. Troll is massive and he can hit you with a huge clap, so be careful at that. Of course, he is tanky, big, and a little bit slower than the other ones. Next one is a wasp. A wasp can hit you from a distance attack, and if you are not careful, it can actually bring more wasps, so you have to take care of them. We think it's an interesting design for this monster because you have to actually be careful for the wasps to not spawn more wasps and they will literally kill you. And the last one is a worm. Our plan for a worm is that it actually will be able to get under the ground and come out much closer. You will have a gap closer and you will not be able to attack him while he is grounded. So these monsters are our ideas for the first zone. We are also thinking about a mini boss for this zone. and we are looking forward for your comments and ideas if you have any, and the feedback of course. Each of these monsters will bring something good to the combat, and when they get together they can actually force some unpredictable attacks patterns that you as a player have to be careful at. Here are a couple of wasps spawning more wasps. Here is a troll coming straight at you. Here is the spider that will poison you, and the wall that will come from under the ground. So now a little smaller chapter when it comes to inventory and crafting. We have some basics of those systems as well. It's far from working inventory, but hey, there it is. You can already drop items and pick up items and they show up in your inventory. There are some problems with it, but hey, we'll solve all of them. We also have the basic crafting system. This one is just for the visuals. We are still thinking how we want it to look like and how the recipes will be created and obtained and what resources will be required and what the process of crafting will look like. So we have some basic crafting, but it's still in very early development. You will soon be able to collect all the cool and weird stuff you find in Darkhan and put it in use whenever that means crafting a new weapon or cooking up a potion, and you never know when you will need those 47 spider legs, so hey, be ready. One of our biggest challenges is making the animation look smooth and not robotic. We want the movements of both the characters and monsters to feel fluid and natural, which requires a lot of work and iteration. Each frame of animation has to be carefully created to ensure that the transitions between movements are seamless. We often find ourselves going back to rework animations to remove something here, add something there, change the concept for art. It's an intensive process, but the payoff is worth it. Another one is the realism in fantasy. We also want the art to have sense of a realism, even though it's a fantasy game. This means adding details like realistic shading, lighting and textures that make the characters and environments feel tangible. It's challenging, but because we are trying to balance the fantastical elements like giant monsters and magical effects with visual style that still feels grounded and it still fits the theme of the game. For example, something like Troll requires some attention to anatomy and a texture detail. The last things are proportions and perspective. The biggest problem we have with art are proportions and perspective. Getting the proportions and perspective right for the characters, monsters and environment is another ongoing struggle. It's crucial that all the elements in the game fit together in a visually cohesive way. Characters need to look at the right size compared to the buildings, and monsters need to have a sense of scale that makes them imposing or terrifying. Perspective plays a big role in making sure that objects in the foreground and background are properly scaled, also skills, buildings and everything. We often have to adjust character sizes and tweak environment elements to ensure everything feels consistent. When it comes to the proportions and perspective, the problem with coding here is the layering and draw order. We have to make sure we still didn't do this, so everything is still on one layer, or the things that we want to stand out for the testing phase are placed on the huge Z index, but we have to make a good layering and draw order pattern, because we need to ensure the correct drawing order for monsters, skill effects, building, trees, items, chest, dialogues, windows and NPCs and everything that appears in the right place, and nothing overlaps in ways it shouldn't. For example, if character walks behind a tree, they should be obscured, but if they walk in front of it, they should be fully visible. Another thing comes to the stability and crash prevention. Adding new features like projectiles, skills or windows or anything always comes up with the risk of causing crashes. When we added a soul comet, it actually crashed when it engaged or found the body of a coin on the ground. So when it comes to that, we have to make sure that every object can interact with another objects in a proper way, or actually that objects don't interact with the objects they shouldn't interact with, and this can sometimes feel tricky to do. So this is what we have done so far, and much more is coming. We will still be working on the procedural generation, and we'll add the new monsters into the game. We want to have the working equipment for the next devlog. It is kinda working but still buggy, and we will start working on the leveling and working UI. We have a UI right now, but it is just a graphic for now. The loot system, although it's partly working, we have to improve it and actually make it usable, playable and repeatable for all of the monsters. And hopefully in the next devlog we will have finished crafting as well. But we will see. We still learn how much we can do in how much time, and this devlog took a little bit longer to do, but hey, the game is getting closer to being finished with each video. By the way, we also have the Discord server where you can join and have some impact into what's being added into the game and see some little leaks here and there and what is happening, small teasers and things like that. So make sure to check out the link in the description. So if you like our project, make sure to subscribe and wait for the next video. Bye bye!